what's unusual about trading is that everything is compressed in a very small time frame. With most things that you work towards, harder work equates to better results.
Right.
In trading, it's not necessarily the case. In fact, sometimes the harder you work on something, the worse things can get.
Well, welcome to the Godly Trading Podcast. We are finally back after, how long has it been?
It's been about 3 months or possibly more.
Yeah, and I'm in a new house.
Yes, you are.
We bought a house. I'm not going to disclose locations, but we bought a house and we're in a lot better situation now. And we actually, yes, the camera's up here.
Thank you. I'm the camera.
You are frozen, staring into my soul. There we go. So yeah, we have one of our original members of GT Pro here today.
Yes, and let's just dive right into it. By the way, and so here's Paulie. Thank you, Paulie, for agreeing to give up part of your Saturday morning to be here. And just FYI for everyone out there, this is our very first attempt at this kind of a three-way setup. So if one or all of us drops out, blame the IT department, which is this guy right here.
Hey, it's not my fault. My ISP decided that they wanted to drop.
So, all right. Well, thank you all for being here. As Nick said, we've been gone for a while, and we are going to kick off with a series of interviews with random people. Not random people as in people off the street, but people you might not have heard of. Paulie is one of our original members with our membership program. So, Paulie, first and foremost, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And just give us a quick background. Who are you? And where are you? What that kind of a thing.
Yeah, well, I'm in northern Indiana. I started in the automotive business when I was 16 years of age. And at the age of 18, I started racing open wheel cars in the SCCA.
How do you start in a business at 16? That's like child labor.
I was in the business. I didn't start one when I was 16.
No, but how I guess you're just employed by somebody at 16.
Yeah. I started in that industry at the age of 16. Yeah. And at age 20, though, I did try to buy my first business, a service garage. I went to ITT Technical Institute for Automotive Service Technology.
Okay.
And to become an auto mechanic. And I was recruited by an elite service garage here in town, which I didn't even know existed at the time. I'd been working at some car dealerships, and this garage was way above anything that they were doing. And I thrived. I loved it there. And at that time, ASE certification was a big deal for automotive techs. There are several areas you can get certified in, but the gold standard is to be master certified. So I became ASE master certified, which put me in the top 1% of the country at the time.
Wow.
And I accepted Jesus in 1990, joined the worship team as a singer in 1994. I married my bride.
Did you sing it?
What part?
Yeah, I still do that. I married my bride of 33 years in 1992. And I have 2 grown children. I started my own IT business now of 27 years in 1998.
Wow.
And I incorporated that in 1999. I attended Indiana Wesleyan University for business administration and computer science. In 2001, I had contracts with Wells Fargo and various other companies. I was supporting for Wells Fargo 21 bank branches in and around the city, and supporting their computers and servers and printers and so on. I opened my first brick and mortar in 2004. It's a computer service shop here in Fort Wayne. I started a automotive YouTube channel, and that took off really well. That was a lot of fun. One of my IT customers was a brokerage firm around this time. And around that same time, I started my motorsports broadcasting and video editing and commercial ad business. And that's done really well. I'm really enjoying that. I still do that. In 2020, I enrolled with Warrior Pro Trading. So this was when I first started looking at trading. And that was a pretty intensive program. I was with them for about 10 months. And from there, I learned how to read level 2 and how to read the tape and how to how to scan for low float movers with a catalyst. And I made my first profits trading there. I joined 2 other groups eventually on my journey, and I started my own YouTube trading channel, and I ran that for about a year. And then earlier this year, I don't know if it was February, is when I came across your channel and joined that.
So by the way, thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
Back up to the motorsports broadcasting. So you're like a commentator, always coming around the turn. Oh, there's a crash in turn 5, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, well, at the time, I felt that there was a felt need for live broadcasting race coverage.
Yeah.
Being involved in motorsports, there were some various clubs that I was racing with at the time. And so I pitched this idea that we could run cellular transmitted cameras from inside the race cars and around the racetrack and produce a show with timing and scoring and call in the race and all of that. I brought it to one of the clubs and they were on board with it. But I really didn't like the vibe I was getting. So I took it to a different club and they were on board with it. And I liked what I was getting from them. So I've been with them doing that. This is my 9th year doing that.
Wow.
So I'm the producer and the host, and I got a guy that works in the pits and a guy that co-hosts with me. So it's very different from being an IT administrator, IT consultant.
I'll bet Nick don't get any ideas.
So how many businesses do you have, Polly?
Currently, I have a camera business. I sell small cameras that people put in their race cars and that kind of thing. So I have a camera business. I have the IT business and the broadcasting business. Those are the big ones that I have right now.
Okay.
Wow. You know, it's interesting. I tell people all the time that who come to me and say, "Hey, I want to trade for a living." I say, "Well, hey, let's maybe let trading be one of several income streams." Sounds like you're already doing that. You've got several income streams. Obviously, you're being self-employed, probably the main one, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean they kind of all couple together. Yeah, it's self-employment, which is it's great.
My dad was self-employed, and he always said there's a fine line between self-employed and unemployed, and sometimes it's day to day, depending on how the business is going. But so talk to us about trading. What you said you started in 2020 with Warrior something or other. What got you there in the first place? What was the spark that said, "Oh, I think I want to learn this trading thing"? Yeah. Nick.
Well, just going to rephrase it into what got you interested in it.
Well, obviously, I consider myself to be a serial entrepreneur. A lot of people that trade have an entrepreneurial mindset. They work in real estate. They usually have multiple things going on, not just one thing. And so I love, kind of the Henry Ford. I've done a lot of things and been very successful in various things, but there's been a lot of things that didn't pan out too. And so I'm always about growing and improving and trying new things. And the learning process for me is exciting. So trading was just another thing that came along that looked like it would be interesting. And so I've succeeded at some pretty difficult things in business and professionally. And so this was just another puzzle. I wanted to try it.
That's fair. It's very fair.
So you started in 2020 with it. How long did it take before you felt comfortable with what you were doing in trading? Or let me rephrase it. How long did it take before you felt like, I think I know what I'm doing here?
I would say once I completed, the training was actually really intense. And because of the nature of being self-employed, I had a lot of time that I could invest in the trading process. So I was able to burn through it in about a month and a half. And I began trading in the simulator right away, and I was doing really well. But the problem there was that it was also COVID, and COVID was pretty easy to trade.
Ah.
So
That's
I
true.
started trading with cash pretty early on, and I was making money. I remember the first trade that I made, that I took $600 on, and I had, I don't know, maybe $1,200 in the account. So that was pretty exciting. And
That's either a really good trade or a lot of risk. One of the two.
yeah, both. So as you can tell, yeah. So at that time, yeah, trading was pretty easy. There were setups all over the place, and the market was in really good momentum.
Did you start out trading Forex, or did you start out doing any stocks or anything like that?
No, I was trading stocks. I was trading low float stocks that had a catalyst and had momentum. Yeah.
Wow. How did you? I guess my question is, when you were my age, around 20-ish, did you know what trading was? I mean, was that something, or did you hear about it later on?
No, I would presume that things are kind of the same now as they were back then. When I went through high school, they really didn't talk about the markets. They didn't really talk about the financial structure of the way that the world works. And so I didn't, and I think a lot of people really don't know what trading is still. So I would think you would have to either have some interest in it or see something in passing. Maybe you went and saw the Big Short or something, and you're like, what's this even all about?
Yeah.
The financial markets are unfortunately extremely important to the global, our economy. Everything is driven by it. Everybody's affected by it. And yet most people don't really know anything about it.
Yeah, the sad truth is that our American education system as a whole does a really poor job of preparing this generation for the financial realities. And even though he was homeschooled, I still did not do as good a job as I had set out to do, preparing him for the realities of how economics.
I mean, from being homeschooled, you taught me, and Paulie, this is where the squirrels start to come in. You taught me budgeting from, I mean, when I was 14, finance. I subcontracted with MPDG, and
you're trying to get around child labor laws.
Hey, it worked.
We found a loophole. Just for the IRS who's watching, there's no such thing as child labor laws when you're employed by your parent. So I
only worked
subcontract
one day a week for like 6 hours. It was fun. I was cutting grass.
You totally did not fall off a ramp and tear your knee open. That did not happen.
I was 15 at that time.
Okay, anyway. Sorry about that, folks.
Yeah, no, but like you taught me from a young age budgeting, but I mean, even people younger than me nowadays, they come out of high school or I mean, shoot, I know of people that just graduated college where I used to go, and they're talking about like, hey, I didn't know, like I was never taught how to do my taxes. I was never taught how to set a budget, how to figure out what a budget should look like, let alone trading. I mean, as far as marketing, because my friend was in like marketing and dealing with the stock market, they'd never heard of foreign exchange trading or what was the other one? What's the other one? Futures,
foreign exchange futures, stocks. Yeah, which is interesting because I mean, Nick went to school for IT. Paulie, you went to school for automotive technology, but yet you opened an IT company. Did any of the what?
I also went to a university for business administration and computer science, but
did any of that lay the framework mentally for trading later on? Are you doing anything now that you're calling on those life experiences with?
Yeah, I think you have to. I think it's you're building blocks, improving yourself. From the beginning. So I think it has to bleed over.
I mean, so from his perspective, having been to IT school, is he just lost in the woods when it comes to needing to learn trading? Or do you think there's that he may have learned he doesn't realize is going to be applicable when time comes to learn, or as we try to teach him trading.
No, I think everything you learn is helpful. Anything you can do in your growth and development as a person and as a child of God is going to be helpful. You'll always have those things you lean on as a crutch to get you up to that next step. So I think of it a lot like climbing a mountain, and you're just, every step you take is getting you closer and closer to, well, the top. Although if you're Jordan Peterson, you say you don't really want to reach the top. And I kind of agree with that. You always want to be striving and growing and improving as a person. But nevertheless, I think when I left the automotive business and I started my IT company, I really knew almost nothing about computers. And so that was taking advantage of a contract that I was aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some learning on the side, and I felt like it was something I could fulfill that contract, even though I didn't know anything about computers. And I used my automotive skills from process elimination diagnostics to take me into computers. And I just learned the computer tech along the way.
Yeah.
And got my certification in computer. It's called A+ certification.
Well, thanks for. We're back, folks. We just cut out a clip of them geeking out on I don't even know what. But I was asking Paulie these things that he did. This is a trading show. These things that he learned. How do you think they impacted or helped you, prepared you for what trading would be, and not for what you thought trading would be, but for what trading really is?
Something that there's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yes, you have.
You have.
You don't know as much as you think you know, and when you finally know how much you think you know, you don't know anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's represented in a graph. The idea is that you start learning something and you believe you become proficient at something, and your own incompetency is so bad that you don't realize how much you know, yet you don't know. So the graph is you kind of peak and then you drop really hard into reality, and then you start actually going up this gradual slope towards proficiency.
Yeah.
So that's one side of the Dunning-Kruger effect. And that happens to a lot of people when they get into something like, with trading. There's this moment when you're doing really well. Because of my background though, although I was doing really well early in, I was, within like a year, I was already profitable. I knew that there was a lot that I didn't know yet, and I had a long road ahead of me. So again, that was just the nature of the market at the time. It was very easy to trade and make money in 2020.
So let me ask you about this aspect of it. I am of the opinion that trading is a spiritual journey, that the statistic out there, 95% of retail traders fail. Mm-hmm. And majority of, I'll call them experts in air quotes, agree that mindset is what causes that. My opinion is that trading mindset is a synonym for your spiritual journey. Take us on your, if you want to call it mindset, if you want to call it spiritual journey of trading from when you began, and all of the noise that goes on inside your head until now.
Well, I believe the Bible teaches us that all things work for the good of those who love Jesus. And it also teaches us to not be anxious for anything. So to me, what that means is all things work for the good of those who love him means that's telling us that God has control over all things. There's nothing outside of his reach or grasp. And that he is continually full-time job manipulating all circumstances and conditions, both temporally and in the temporal world and the spiritual world, and supernaturally towards our good. So being that that's the case, I know that the process that I was going through was going to be for my good, as I was keeping God involved in everything that I was doing. I'm putting God into everything that I'm doing in my life. So this was not separate from that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. My approach to the game is one about growth. The 99% of what I do is about personal growth and development. The P&L is the 100th percent, the 1% on the
Right.
end. So,
well, in that regard, describe your growth mentally, spiritually in trading from when you first discovered it till now.
Well, I think that the mental growth part is that what's unusual about trading is that everything is compressed in a very small time frame. With most things that you work towards, harder work equates to better results.
Right.
In trading, it's not necessarily the case. In fact, sometimes the harder you work on something, the worse things can get.
That's true.
And with trading journey, one of the problems I ran into was as I learned and developed in that second and third year, I got to the point where I could see trades developing in both directions. Like it was getting difficult to really differentiate between, so what is the most likely direction for this trade? Because I can see setups on both sides of it. So this is that period when you're almost know too much, and you need to sort through what the likelihoods are.
Yeah.
So the mental game at that point was obviously one of some frustration of we need to just take more time and work our way through this. There's a guy named Lance who has a process. He worked at S&B Capital, which I'm a big fan of, and he has a process called the bobblehead process, which is essentially his approach. Even after 15 years of trading, he's a $100 million trader, successful trader. Is he goes into the office every day to trade, and he's much more about the process and about learning and building himself brick by brick to be a better trader for the next day. And he will not leave the office until he has improved himself at least 1% that day.
Wow.
And so there's a book that came out recently that I read that I really enjoyed from Ann Hyatt called Betting on Yourself. And that Ann Hyatt is a woman who worked directly for Jeff Bezos. And she also then left Amazon and ended up going to work for Google in their production department. And she also worked for Yahoo. And so she was working with these high-level executives. And the way that she was able to get these jobs and work in these high-level production environments was she flipped the narrative from worrying about failure to being all about growth. So she was worried less about getting fired for blowing $1 million deal and more interested with how can I learn and what can I learn from this experience? Okay.
Yeah.
Because then the world just continued to open up for her as she did that. Right. And that's kind of similar to Lance's bobblehead approach is you're really much more about the process and learning and applying that discipline than it is about the money. The money, the P&L comes at the end.
Right.
So as you're developing yourself through this whole process, you find that the money comes with it at the end, which is I know ultimately what a lot of people are looking for in trading. But trading is just so unique in that. It's so unique and everything's compressed in such a short time period where you can make a decision that you're going to lose weight, like in a diet program. And within a couple of days, you might start to see some results, right? But within trading, you can make a decision and see results in a minute,
right,
or a few seconds or a few hours. And because of that, then you're immediately notified that you were wrong. And when, when that happens, then your natural response is to attack. It's part of our natural process or mindset. And unfortunately, when we get really emotional, those emotions kick in. The brain has a lot of problems with that situation where you end up losing contact with your discipline, you start moving stops, you start changing position, or you abandon the plan as a result. So
Father, that sounds familiar.
That's the problem with trading. It creates a unique a unique challenge for the mind for you to cope with through that process. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a biblical concept that several authors have taken, which is be, do, have. And the little book 1 Minute Millionaire talks about it, that we all want more. We want the having. And most of us are trained to just do more to have the more. But what we don't realize is that we're already doing almost anything we can do based on who we are right now, that ultimately to have more, to be able to do more, we have to be more. We have to be somebody different. So you're talking about growth. That trading is that one area where hard work, it's not a natural if-then statement. If I work harder, then I make more. Unless it is, if I work harder on me. Because you mentioned that there's such an opportunity to derail yourself through lack of discipline. That trading in almost no other area. I will say this though, I am learning that a lot of that is tied from a biblical perspective. A lot of that is tied to pride, and that we as men suffer from that slightly more than our female counterparts in trading. So you mentioned earlier that the market will prove you wrong. Well, some of us don't like to be proved wrong, and we'll do whatever we can to take our stop and eliminate our stop. Hang on for dear life until the account is gone, just to be proven right. We're not going down that rabbit hole. Speaking of,
get a minute. Ask him what "let go of the rope" means, and see what happens. It was a cow. It was midnight. I'm not going to go into that route. What are you doing personally, Paulie, to be that 1%, to increase your discipline, increase your mindset on a regular or an irregular basis?
Yeah, well, I really like Lance's approach, and it's using a sort of a scorecard that he uses for the day. So it's a journaling technique of not just how did I trade, did I do good, did I do bad, but there's several things that you fill in that help you really evaluate, what happened that day, and then how you responded, and what the results were.
So that's something that you are implementing now, or that you're planning on implementing?
No, I do that. Yeah.
How long have you been doing that?
I would say probably close to 2 or 3 months.
Have you seen any results from having added this routine to your day?
Yes, I think it's good because it forces you to slow down. And Jesus was never in a hurry.
True.
And that always comes back to me is that we tend to. My tendency was when I would lose a trade, I would just close the laptop, close the charts, and walk away and try to forget about what happened. And I was following somebody at the time that said, no, go back and look at those losses, because dissect those. Inside those losses, each one of them is the reason why you lost.
Right.
And the key to finding the wins. And it's so hard, especially when you're first starting out, to face those losses. You just want to think, oh, it was just one of those things, and I don't care. Yeah. Well, if you're in it for growth and improvement, you do care. You want to know what happened, and you want to take stock of every loss and every win and understand, dissect them, understand what took place.
Yeah. Not only from a technical standpoint, but typically, and this is one of the things we talk to our traders about, is that question number one you ask yourself is this loss because of the system, the market, or because of me? Did I do what I was supposed to do? And this would have been a winning trade, put that in air quotes, because winning trade means something different to everybody. This would have been a winning trade, but for my own human intervention. And oftentimes, more often than not, we find that we were the problem, not the system and not the market. Yeah, sure. Sometimes you're in a thing with a small stop loss and Trump tweets, and suddenly the market does happen like that. More often, though, I was having a bad day.
Tweeting affecting the trade market.
Say again?
How much is Trump tweeting affecting the trade market?
Well, it depends on your time frame. I trade the daily charts, and a tweet may or may not affect me. But if you're trading the 1 minute chart, a tweet will absolutely affect you.
Is there a second
Depending on
chart?
what it is you think. There's a tick chart. And by the way, if anybody out there trades the tick chart, please let us know. We will pray for you.
Isn't that the one where it's every
anyway.
single tick is up in? It's the
every
pip?
candle is a trade? Yeah. Every single a tick chart is every time price changes, it produces a tick candle. But anyway, so those things can absolutely happen. Well, tell us a little bit about your system that you set out to create here in the last few months, and not the system itself, but your impetus, the reason you said, "Hey, I'm gonna start this brand new thing." Was it just in some light bulb went off one day? You heard it on the radio. What was it that started you on the journey to the thing you're trading right now?
What are you trading?
Oh, well, I'm trading the 15-minute chart of trading GU.
The pound US.
Yeah, the pound US. I think I was having a conversation with you one day. I was just lamenting, I'm having trouble with this market, and it was getting to be too expensive. And you said, well, hey, what about Forex? And it's like, yeah, I could go back to Forex. And so it just kind of started. That's the nice thing about being in community, because like you had said recently, we shouldn't be alone. And being in community is just so important. I just think it's so helpful to help bounce ideas off other people, keeping you grounded and helping you make good pivots like that.
By the way, this podcast is brought to you by the Godly Trading Pro community. So if you would like to join a community and be part of our weekly mastermind groups, contact us at godlytrading.com/pro. Thank you for the segue, Paulie. That was fantastic.
You got it.
And that was unplanned. And I'm serious about that. That was unplanned. No, but once you tell me about that experience, going from spark of idea all the way through to now you're trading it live, because that's honestly one of the most difficult mental hurdles people have. Is I don't know what to trade, and I don't know how to solve that problem. So you were having a conversation, you had an idea, and then from that kernel of inspiration, that eureka moment, Paulie did not go running through the streets naked like Galileo did, presumably. I don't know.
Allegedly.
Indiana PD will verify that or not. But from that moment to now, you're trading it not only live, but you're trading it algorithmically. Tell us about that journey.
Well, I've developed many trading systems over the years, so it wasn't really new doing something like that. And as far as trading an algo or a bot, that is new. It's really two different things. You know, you've got your strategy, which is just a set of rules. And I've always been better at trading mechanical trading setups, which is more heavily technical than it is fundamental. And because it's mechanical, that means there's just a lot of math involved, and you should be able to build a bot around that. Now, I have quite a bit of coding experience in various languages, so it just kind of made sense to find me a developer who's familiar with that language and say, well, here's what I want to do. And so it's two components. It's the bot, which is just a software program. It's just doing whatever you tell it to do. It's like any other software program. Just does what you tell it to do. And then you've got your trading strategy.
Yeah.
But that doesn't come from that. That's not something a new trader does. I mean, really, you got to work on the whole trading. You have to learn how to trade first, and then you can, learning how to make your own trading system might come down the road a little bit.
Although we do teach that in our brand new class starting September 1st, but I'm not going to do that plug just yet. So
Paulie, I do want to derail for a second. What language did you use for your bot?
No, I didn't trade. I didn't develop the bot.
Okay.
I had a developer to do that because I'm not familiar with the language that he was using.
Okay.
So I'm not going to do that.
Noted.
Take a step back and sort of walk us through the idea behind. You don't have to detail your system. You can if you want to, but the idea behind how the technical, the nuts and bolts of your system. How did you put those together? You're staring at the screen and said, I wonder what happened if price did this and it hit this level or this, VWAP and all those things. How did you pull those pieces together to create this thing? I know you say you've done it before, but walk somebody through that process.
In this particular situation, I had experienced trading a market where I noticed the way that the London Open would affect the market, even though I wasn't trading the London Open. But I did notice a pattern that was there in the way that the market would open and maneuver. And so whenever I see something that reoccurs, I see a pattern. If I'm interested, the thought that comes to my mind would be, gee, I wonder how I could trade that. If I see a reoccurring pattern, what would I need to do to put in place to trade something like that? And then just start bringing pieces of the puzzle together. You start with one thing and then you look, well, what about yesterday? What about the day before? What about the day before that? What about the day before that? And see if it's a reoccurring thing. It's like, wow, this is actually something that's occurring more than 50% of the time, or nearly 50% of the time. What's the range look like on the market? Is it relatively consistent? Do we know roughly how far this market runs in the course of a day? A lot of markets are that way, and GU is that way. So, well, if that's the case, if you know roughly how far it's going to go, and you know roughly the direction, how to pick the direction, now what kind of pullbacks do you see when you go into that market as a result of that trigger?
Yeah.
Now you have the basis of a stop loss and a take profit and an entry,
which is the three main components of any trade setup.
So you start. That's how I started. Just start by looking for a candlestick pattern. Now, there's so many. That's kind of the beauty of trading, like you had mentioned, Pepper. There's so many creative ways you can approach the market and trade it. It's almost like no matter what you say, somebody else is doing the opposite and successful.
Yes. And I have seen traders take the opposite sides of the same trade and both make money. I love that.
Yeah, it's
in
really
some ways it's discouraging because you think, well, then who can ever figure? But anyway,
no, yeah, it's encouraging in a way, because then it's like, well, you just find something. You can find something yourself, and you can develop a trading strategy. Maybe you can develop a successful trading strategy around it. So the key is in. Similar to what we talked about earlier, which I learned from Oliver Velez. It's like dissect your losses. And the same thing back testing is. Go through and you test everything back day by day, month by month. Go back as far as you can, I guess. If you can go back a year, that's great. And look to see how it performed throughout the year. Pepper, you and I talked about this. I used to be more on the last 3 months, but you just want to kind of get a good picture of what's there. But most people don't want to do that.
Yeah.
They just want the answers, or they
want to start trading live right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
I know a lot of people that are like that.
Well, it's like, it's like dieting. I think it's very similar to dieting, because you can give somebody, keto or vegetarian or whatever it is, carnivore. You can give them the strategy that works, but they have to be the person that sticks to it. And you got to be so regimented and give it every opportunity to work. And so many people, you know how it is. You buy these programs, you buy the exercise equipment, and you buy the gym membership, and inside of 3-6 months, that stuff's sitting in the corner gathering dust, because you didn't really develop the discipline to go along with understanding this is a lifestyle change, and trading. And
you have to be somebody different. You can't be the same person at the beginning and expect to have any results. It's all about you.
And one of the things that I've learned through doing this and through honestly just talking about it with everybody is just the discipline takes, at least from what I see, discipline takes trump over all other things when it comes to trading. You have to have the discipline to know whether to stop or whether to put the trade in place. Am I correct in that?
Um, yeah, I think it's hard to say, again, it's hard to say no to anything like that because, there's other people that are moving and shaking and doing things different ways. My approach is I have a set of rules that are put together for the trade based upon back testing. It tells me this gives me a statistical advantage. So I'm going to execute this trade the same way every day.
Yeah.
And that's why I
That's
can
what
build a bot.
consistency is.
And I'm just going to let that ride day after day.
Yeah.
Now I'm not, I shouldn't say just let it ride because I'm analyzing every trade and I'm looking to see for shifts in the market. Again, I'm trying to improve myself as a trader and I need to be able to pivot with the market as it pivots. But at the same time, no, I'm trading a specific rule set and I'm letting it play out. So instead of pivoting every day, I might wait 30 days to see how things panned out and then make a change.
Yeah, the discipline is built off of consistency, and consistency is just doing the same thing, the same way, the same time every time. And that's, I go back to Drew Brees talking about playing an entire game in his head every single day. He practiced 6 days a week and he played 3 hours a week. He just do the same thing over and over again, expecting the same result, because that's what success is built on. The system is almost irrelevant. Now, sure, you have to have a system with some edge, but I encourage everyone out there, go to YouTube and type in the phrase Flat Earth Trading Society.
No, don't send people to the flat Earth theory.
No. It's not Flat Earth theory. It's called the Flat Earth Trading Society. And here's the reason. This guy his name is Rob. I can't remember his last name. He owns a prop firm, and he put his money where his mouth. He put $100,000 of his own money into the theory that risk management and trade management are all that matters. So here's what they did. And you don't watch any of the videos but the last one. Go to the Flat Earth Trading Society YouTube channel. Watch the very last video where they wrap it up. They pick stocks at random, hilariously at random, throwing Scrabble tiles on the floor. They spell a company, we're trading that. They put a moving average on it. If it was up, they went long. If it was down, they went short. And then they applied trade management and risk management rigidly. $100,000 account at the end of the year, they made 15%. Trading randomly. The entire purpose of this was to prove strategy. Okay, fine. Strategy matters at some point, but strategy is the least important factor. Risk management and trade management, which is what we're talking about, otherwise known as discipline. Rigid adherence to your discipline is the most important element. So yeah, not flat Earth trading, because it was a tongue-in-cheek reference to I don't know what. But I love that video because it proves that people come to me all the time and say, "Hey, what strategy do you use? What can you give me a strategy?" I'm like, I need to. That's a big question with a long answer, and none of it's about strategy. But I'm sure probably what you're saying is that's basically, I mean, strategies come and go, but the trader whose job it is to trade that strategy rigidly day in and day out is the key function.
I would agree.
Yeah,
which is probably why
consistency, you said, Father, was the doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same result. That sounds a lot closer to insanity.
No, insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting a different result. Consistency is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same result. Well, Nick, you had a question about your generation.
Yes. Pretty much, if someone my age wanted to, I wouldn't say like jump in head first to this, but say dip their toes in. If someone wanted to dip their toes into this, what's something that they can take to a piece of advice maybe that they can use to apply to, okay, I'm sitting down looking at everything. This is my first week, essentially.
Aside from taking our class, aside from that.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of context there. I would imagine the approach is probably what they're probably looking for. Like I'm not sure exactly where to start with this or how to go about it. It would be starting at, you can trade what's called the live market with your own money, but you can also fake trade. It's called trading with a demo account or a simulator, which is a little bit easier to understand if I say simulator account. They also call it paper trading for some reason. I don't know why. It's a simulator. So it's not even real, but it looks real. And those simulators are working the real market. So it's very close to trading the real thing in real time. So if the market goes up a couple points that you're trading, it actually is going up a couple points in real life.
Okay.
So you can trade in this thing called a simulator, and you could trade a strategy in that and become acclimated with the process of having a strategy, a simple strategy that you could trade, and get used to that process of taking the trade, setting the stops, which is where if the price goes against you and it just closes that trade out so you don't lose any more money, or setting the take profit, which is when the price goes up and hits a certain amount of profit before, again, it closes the account and then that profit goes into your account. So it's how to place a trade, set a stop, set a target, one very basic entry trigger, like a buy when the price closes above yesterday's high, for instance. Very common. It's kind of sort of a breakout or an opening range type breakout trade. Very simple. And you want to make discipline the main training ground, because discipline is what drives everything. If you come into our program and into the, what do they call it, the GT
Godly Pro community.
If you come into our community, almost everybody's talking about the discipline side. Hardly anybody talks about the problems with the strategies. So this is where you're starting to work on that discipline, and this is where the growth comes in. And I think this would be really interesting for anybody to play around with, not just someone who's young. But the goal isn't to make money; it's to train following stops, targets, and rules. Profit and loss is really irrelevant at this stage. It's about obedience in the process. So only later do you might want to expand on the strategy. But I think then once you get acclimated with the process of how to trade mechanically, the physical process of using this platform, like TradingView is one that's very popular, and that's one that I like to use too. Then you start putting a little bit of money in. Start trading you can trade with very small amounts of money. I mean, candy bar money, not even coffee money.
Right.
Because
that is one of the benefits of Forex is that you can start with a $10 account if you wanted to.
Once you start trading with real money, most people, the psychology is totally different. And so it's a completely different game. And a lot of people struggle when they first start trading with real cash. Yeah. So that would be my recommendation.
Just to make sure I'm understanding it, what you're saying here is essentially to use the demo account or simulator in this instance to flesh out, okay, this is what my strategy that I want to use. This is how it works. This is how I implement it. This is what the analytics will look like. Now that I have gotten the mechanics of it and understand how it works, let me go and put $2 in and put actual money in and actually do little small trades and work your way up, essentially.
No.
Wrong.
None of that.
Heard.
And that's what makes this so hard, is because that's the direction that the mind naturally would take us.
Yeah.
Right. What this is about is experiencing what it's like to put trades on and let them play out to their fruition and not interfere with them.
Gotcha.
It's not about the P&L. P&L is profit and loss. It's not about the money. Okay. The simulated part is the process of saying, because when you first start trading in a simulator, you're not only learning how to use the trading platform, but you're also learning the discipline of putting that trade on and leaving it. And that's the hardest part. That's what we keep coming back to. And no one wants to believe that that's a problem.
Yeah. Don't mess with your trades.
So that's what you're doing here. The putting on the cash in the cash account is exactly the same motives.
Yeah.
I have the psychology of, I don't want to lose another 30 cents. I want to come out 60 cents ahead. Maybe I can even make $1 if I let this go all the way, but I could also lose 30 cents. I'm just going to let this go. That's what you're trying to do.
Okay. I see what you're saying there. It's essentially learning how to leave it alone.
learning how to implement. It's every trade should be, you want to be able to look back at that trade, Nick, and say, I nailed the entry.
Yeah.
Perfect to my rules. I set my stop perfectly to my rules. I set my take profit perfect. It's chef's kiss. Perfect. And then I let it execute to its end. Whatever that was, that one closed. And then I waited for the next opportunity. And it has to abide by the rules perfectly. And I took the entry perfect. That is what you're doing over and over and over again.
Gotcha. Some people grade themselves on a scale, but other people grade themselves binary. I followed my rules 100% or I failed. If I followed my rules 90% would be the same as failure. I've seen people that grade themselves. And to be honest, I fully understand that. Because if you change just one element, if you say, all right, I nailed my entry, as you put it, I nailed my stop loss, and halfway through the trade, I did this thing over here that wasn't my trade plan. Well, you're no longer trading your system. You're trading a system, trading your system anymore because you have introduced an extra variable. Your grandmother was the queen of the scientific method, and she, if you're going to, you have to do things as per the rules. And if you're going to change one variable, you've invalidated the entire experiment. And I think that's something that we need to consider. Most of us don't. Most of us think, what's the harm in me intervening and taking a little profit off the table? Well, if it's not part of your rules, you still made money, but it was it was an unsuccessful trade because you intervened. The less of, again, spiritual element there. The less of us we apply, the better things are. Paul said, not this Paul, the apostle, not that you're not an apostle, but not I, but Christ. The less of me and more of him. And I think that's how we need to approach trading as well. Sorry. That was what Nick's old youth minister used to reference, a Jesus juke.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
And one question I had for you, Paul, it was one of the biggest issues I've had, especially recently with moving, the work-life trading balance. Biggest issue I have. How do you balance all of that, especially with the handful of businesses that you have?
Besides getting up at 3 a.m. He was getting up at 3 a.m. every day to trade, folks.
No.
This one, Paulie was. He was getting up every day at 3 a.m.
As far as the 3 a.m. thing goes, I'm a firm believer you have to be willing to do things that no one else is willing to do to be successful like that. So
that's fair.
People, the things that I've accomplished, there have been times people found out what I was doing and like, why are you doing that? Why are you working at that level? Why are you? It's like, because that's how I am wired up. And I found a lot of success in life from working hard, from doing things that other people would think are crazy. I'm not doing that anymore. And when I went into it, I knew, and I told people, I said, this is not a long-term thing. This is just time for me to work the strategy until I can develop something that will trade it for me. I don't intend to continue getting up at this time. So in this case, Nick, what I did was I had a bot developed that would trade it for me. So I didn't have to do it. And it was such a clean mechanical system that it was something that I didn't actually have to trade myself. Other strategies that I have could require that I spend, in my opinion, too much time in front of the charts. So when I start getting tired of being in front of the charts day after day, then I just cycle away from it. It's like, well, then this isn't good for me. Some people run into a lot of health issues with trading. You can take anything too far. In my career, I was in the hospital 3 times, and it was all just stress-related illnesses. There were a lot of symptoms, but nothing really wrong with me.
Yeah.
And so you can take anything too far. And sometimes you just need to take a break. When my dad died, one of my best friends died a few months later. I took about 3 months off, So sometimes you're just not in a place where your trading is good for you. So you just stop until you feel like, okay, I'm free to go back to that. And I think that making sure you're close to the Lord in the process is great. That's why, the Holy Spirit was sent to us to be a helper, give us guidance. And like you guys, I have a wife, and I'm pretty sure you're married, aren't you, Nick?
Not yet.
Not yet, but that partner is really great too. Usually, mine certainly has been really great to help me through the process of, balance in my life.
Yeah.
Is there a pull between I feel a calling as a husband and a father and a provider to do this thing, and I feel a call as a husband and a father to not take time away from my family? And they're almost two opposing forces with the same goal. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. I think of them in layers. I think God is number one in my life. My wife is number two, and then come my kids and my family. So everything is layered. Although I know that trading successfully can have a positive effect on my providing for my family, right? That can't take precedence over the family. So it has to
Right.
take a back seat. Jesus would never put me in a situation where I would be sacrificing my family, going against
Very
his
true.
will to do something else. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
In the name of your family. Right. Yeah, absolutely. The last thing I mentioned the beauty of trading, in that, hey, you could come home and say, hey, family, we're going on a trip around the world because of all my trading money. Let's go pack, and have them say, nah, we're good. We don't want to spend the next 6 months with you because of the way you've behaved in your trading. You don't want your family to hate the thing that you do that you're trying to help your family with. And I'm sure that's probably applicable to businesses and all that kind of thing. I mean, anybody can take providing for their family too far and make their family hate the thing that they're. Yeah, you're right. There's a balance, but at the same time, God's not going to say, I'm giving you trading as a calling to provide for your family, and oh, by the way, you're going to lose your family in the process. That's not the way he's going to work. Right. Well, he didn't lose his wife. That's a whole other story. So what is next for you, Paulie? You've got a system that you've built. You have a mindset that seems where it needs to be. So do you think are you sort of like trading on cruise control? I mean, you said you're always looking to do better yourself. So what does bettering yourself look like once you get to the point where you currently are, where you're relative, where you would call it successful?
Well, I believe that, and Lance says it best. He says that there is no finish line. That he's 15 years in and $100 million in trading in profits, and he's convinced there's no finish line.
Blimey.
And that your ambition should be to continue to build yourself brick by brick and be a better trader and be 1% better every day. And so for me, that fits along with a lot of business. When I opened up my store, there were several computer service stores in town, but it was very easy, bizarrely easy to beat them in the same market. One of them was right down the street, and to start taking their customers. And it wasn't like, gee, I want to take their customers. It was like these people were picking up their computers where they had dropped them off after it sat there for 4 days and brought it to my store so they could get it fixed, because these other guys just weren't getting to it. People get relaxed. When you relax, when you get overly confident and you start thinking, I'm on cruise control, that's when you're going to get destroyed. You can't live that way in business. Just doesn't work that way. Those are the people that get overtaken. So I know that from business. I know how to be successful in business. So I know that in trading, as I'm growing, developing, if I relax and just try to sit back on something, it will just fall apart. So no, I trade, and I'm intentionally working to improve myself. I'm scoring myself, and I'm looking to learn each day from what I'm doing. And so I have a trading system. That trading system works. I have a bot that was well programmed. The thing works great, but I'm tweaking with each month, I can see some things that we can improve. I'm looking at implementing multiple of the same bot, but just trading different stops and take profits because of the nature of this market would allow some opportunities to earn more, because sometimes the nature of that market would maybe deflate a little bit where it just doesn't have the same range. So this would be running multiple accounts with multiple bots, trading essentially, like a bank. They're running multiple algorithms and trading. Yeah.
Trading to me sounds like I think it was Einstein who has the quote, "If you're not living, you're dying." Or
Yeah.
the day you stop living is the day you start dying.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson describes it as climbing a hill. Like you want to always be climbing and always in that effort, and you don't really want to reach the top.
No.
For that reason. You kind of want to always be striving, and it's an old concept. Talked about it in Star Trek.
Well, even the Apostle Paul said at the oh, we're losing somebody, possibly me.
But I think it's you.
You think it's okay? Sorry about that. Am I back? I was saying, even the Apostle Paul at the end of his life said that I don't consider myself to have attained, but I press on for the mark. So even for all that Paul had accomplished, he considered he wasn't there yet. There was no there. He kept pressing on towards the mark of the higher calling. I can't remember the end of the verse, but you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well said.
All righty.
Well, Paul, I appreciate you being here. We both appreciate you being here. And thank you for being a faithful member of our community. Real quick, what has being part of we're not plugging our community anymore. What has being part of a community meant? What has been part of a community meant for you as a trader, as a Christian, as a person?
Yeah.
Well, being a part of secular communities is pretty difficult because they don't look at things the same way that you do. And so the whole infrastructure of their being is very different than a Christ follower. So I found it very difficult being in other groups. I would go there really just with the intention to learn like anybody else. But once I felt like I'd learned all that I could, I would just move on. So this particular group is good because it's a little bit smaller than some of the other groups I've been in. You get a little bit more of that personal community with other Christ-like believers, and the leader, Pepper here, is really driving home the spiritual aspect of your life as it relates to trading. So that's very unique. I haven't really run into it structured quite like that, to where you get that type of teaching and encouragement and coaching along with the community. So it's that's a really positive environment for me.
Yep.
Go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say just from being a moderator of the Discord channel and everything, obviously I see all, know all, not omnipotent. I believe it is omniscient. Omniscient. I'm not omniscient in the server, but I can definitely see the close connection that it seems to cause. I don't think cause is the right word, but it seems to allow y'all to be able to go in and be like, okay, hey, here's my strategy. And then someone else can come in and say, okay, well, this is similar to my strategy. How is this differing? And it's almost like you can one-on-one with each other as well as branch other people in.
Yeah, because of the nature of the Discord server, you're just able to message one another, and it's really been great for me to message with one of the other people in the group that we're kind of at a similar level in our trading. And so while a lot of people coming in are new and just kind of trying to get their footing, there are other people that have more experience. And so you can kind of work with each other and help each other out. And that's really valuable.
Yeah. for those who are watching, but was referencing, we have a Monday night Zoom call where we're all in the room together talking more spiritual, and we have a Discord channel where they talk slightly more nuts and bolts, with the same purpose. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Paul. Thank you for being here. Do you have? You mentioned that you currently have a YouTube channel. You're happy to plug it away if you'd like to. Where can we find you in social media land? Both trading and listening to you call live racing. I'd love to watch that as well.
He's turning left.
Yeah, no, we're not just turning left. We're road racing. So, but it's called the TireRack.com Champ Car Endurance Series. Here comes my announcer voice.
Here it goes.
It's the TireRack.com Champ Car Endurance Series. So that you can find us at champcar.live. And we're doing about 20 races a year all over the United States, the bucket list tracks like the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and Daytona, and some of the circle tracks like the ovals like that. But most of them are closed circuit road course racing, grassroots motorsports racing. It's a starter series. It's for people that want to get involved in racing, but maybe don't have a race car or the budget to get into developing their own race car. So yeah, it's a good time.
Live streams before.
Have you?
I have. I went and looked at the page. I just recognized I watched one a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
So do you just announce, or do you still race at all?
Yeah, I raced actually last year, but I'm looking at hanging it up. But I've been racing for almost 40 years.
Wow.
So I think I'm about done. I got about most out everything I really get out of it.
Fair. I understand.
I was told, or I was threatened, I would say, to racing by my mother. I think the threat was to dislodge my ears from my skull.
Well, you're a whole other state away. What are the odds that she'll track you down? Even though she knows where you live.
Well, she has my address.
That's true.
Yeah. If you want to communicate with me in social media, then you need to join the Godly Trading Pro channel, and that's how you can reach out to me. I had closed down my trading YouTube channel, so you wouldn't be able to reach me that way. And so I'm with the Godly Trading folks now.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Nick, you want to sing us out or outro us?
Sure. Well, I guess that's all for this week's Godly Trading. What is it? Godly Trading podcast.
Podcast interview edition.
Yeah, it's been long enough. It's been too long, Paul. Thank you very much for coming in. We'll definitely have to do something again sometime. This was a good discussion. I think discussions like this are very useful, but until then, see y'all next time.
All right, hang on, everybody.